Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chantel. So today we went to Walmart and I found this amazing new palette. It is the Profusion Festival palette, and I decided to go ahead and do a little first impression video. We're gonna get some swatches and we're gonna try and create a look with it. So if you're curious to see the color payoff and you want to learn how to use this palette, then continue to watch this video. Alrighty, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I see that there are 35 colors in this palette and it is a net weight of 1.8 ounces. So let's go ahead and open this up. It's got a little tape on it. So first thing when we open it up, we have this little protective screen on it. And the screen apparently we're into ASMR now. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with some swatches. I'm gonna do the first row here and I'm gonna tell you the names as I'm doing the swatches. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with some swatches. We're gonna go from the top row to the bottom. So the first color we have here is called Winning. It is a matte, kind of peachy nude color. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch that right under this tooth here. It is very chalky and it kind of doesn't have a whole lot of color to it, but that just may be because it's really similar to my skin tone. The next color we have is called Strobe Lights. This is a shimmer shade. It is a kind of a yellowish color. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna swatch that right under Winning. And guys, I will go ahead and I will insert some pictures of these swatches as well with the names next to them. The next shade in the palette is called Wristband. It is more of a tan color. It is also a matte shade. The next shade in the palette is called DJ. This is a shimmer shade. It looks very peachy. So far, you guys, I am a little bit disappointed. They don't have a whole lot of color payoff at the moment. I will go ahead and, like I said, I'll show you the swatches once I get them all done. The next color that this palette has is called Fanny Pack. Now, this is our first purple shade that we're encountering. It is a shimmer shade as well. It does seem very chalky so far for all of these colors. Okay, that one actually has a better payoff in the pigment, so it may just be the tones of the previous ones weren't very dramatic, but this purple actually shows up better than the other ones. So maybe there is some hope for this palette still. I really hope so. The next shade is called Geode. Now this one is kind of a aqua color. It is very shimmery. And I do have to say that I was a little bit worried that the shimmer may have just been a top layer, because I know that that happens sometimes, but as I'm swatching this with my fingers, the shimmer goes into the pan, so I'm glad about that. The final shade on our first row is called Superstar. This one is a gold shade. It is also a shimmer. And this is what it looks like on the finger. And we will go ahead and we will swatch it. That one is very pretty, you guys. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show my swatches to the camera. Okay, you guys, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next row of the palette. The first shade on this row is called Witty. It is a brown shade. It is a matte color. This one seems to be a little patchy and chalky, but that may just be because it's a matte shade. But that does seem to be the theme with our mattes here, so let's continue going and see what happens. Our next shade is called Headliner. It is a shimmer shade. It's more of a dark yellow, almost a gold shade. This is what it looks like on the finger. And we're gonna go ahead and swatch that. Okay. That one is a really pretty shade. It does have a little bit more pigment to it, and it is very smooth. And that's the thing about these shimmers so far, is they all feel really smooth, whereas the matte shades feel kind of chalky. So it may just be the formulas for these colors. My next shade is called Days. It is an orange shimmer shade. This is what it looks like on the finger. Not too bad. Gonna go ahead and swatch that on my arm as well, and that is very pigmented. It is a lot more pigmented than the other colors are so far. I actually did not expect it to be that pigmented. So far, I think that one's my favorite shade out of this entire palette, just because the payoff from it. The next shade that we have in the palette is called Playlist. It is kind of a rose color, actually. It is a matte shade. This one is pretty pigmented as well. The problem is because it's chalky, it's a little dusty and patchy. So the color is there, it's very vibrant. It's just not full effect where some other palettes would probably be better. The next color in our palette is a purple shade called Shell. It is a cooler tone. Okay, here is what it looks like on the fingertip. And we're just gonna go ahead and swatch that as well. This one is a very cool tone. It has a lot of gray undertones to it. I'm not so sure how I feel about that shade. The next shade is called Hipster. It is another teal shade. It is very, very pretty. It almost looks like it could be a baby blue, but because it does have that hint of green to it, it is more teal-sided. But I think it's really pretty. It is a very fair shade. I'm gonna pick up a little more to see if I can deepen that swatch. Okay, the next color on this row is called Maya, and it's almost a bronze color. It is a shimmer shade as well. This is what it looks like on the finger, and I will swatch it. All right, you guys, Maya is very pigmented as well, just like that orange color. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop a picture in with the names under them so you guys can see what this looks like. Moving on to our third row, the first shade in the palette is a brown color. It is called Campground. It is a matte shade. And this is what it looks like on the finger. Okay, this one actually is pretty pigmented and has a nice color payoff. I am surprised by that given the history of the other matte shades in this palette. Moving right along, the next shade in this palette is a bright yellow. It is called Sunnies. This is what this yellow shade looks like. It is a matte shade as well. I'm not sure if I said that. Now, this one is chalky. I don't know if you guys remember from the last video that I did with a yellow shade, but yellows tend to be pretty chalky. However, even though this one is very chalky, it is very pigmented as well. I'm really loving that. My next shade is kind of a burnt orange color, and it's called Beat. Now, Beat is a matte shade as well. Given that it has yellow undertones to it, it may be chalky just like that yellow was. It is chalky, but it seems to be kind of pigmented, so I just added another layer to it, and it looks very nice. I like that. I know that this is a festival palette, but so far with those three colors, it's really making me think of fall. I know it's February, but I want it to be October. Can't help it. The next shade in this palette is a pink shade called Rave. It is a matte shade as well. It is very, very bright. It's kind of a hot pinkish fuchsia shade. Okay, that color has a lot of pigment to it as well. So it seems like the lighter matte shades so far in this palette are gonna be the ones that aren't as pigmented, which is okay because with the lighter shades, you're usually using those as a transition color or you're using them for a softer look. So that kind of makes sense. As you're getting to the darker shades, they're for more of a vibrant look, so I'm understanding why these have more pigment to them. I'm not hating it so far. The next shade is another purple, and it's called Festival. Don't like the name. If you named your palette Festival, why would you name your color Festival? Not important. Alrighty, here's what it looks like on the finger. And we're just gonna go ahead and transfer that over, and that is really pretty, you guys. Next up, we have a shimmer shade called Atlantis. Look at this. It is pearlescent, and it makes me want to move to the ocean. You guys, that is so pretty. You know, I kind of want to do a blue look now, but I'm wearing a red shirt, so we'll see where this goes. The final shade on this row is another kind of peachy brown. It has a slight shimmer to it, but it's not like the rest of the shimmers in this palette. I actually don't see any other shade in this palette that has the shimmer to it that this one does. This shade is called Likeable. This is what it looks like on the finger, and I'm not sure if you guys can see the shimmers that are in there. When I put it on the finger, it does start to swatch like the matte shades do. So I'm not sure if that sparkle just comes from the transfer from the other colors. Being a lighter brown, it doesn't have the same payoff that the first brown on this row did, but it still is pretty pigmented. So I'm not mad about it. On our fourth row, it starts off with another brown shade. It is more of a dark brown. It is a matte color as well. It is called Bossy. This is what it looks like on the finger. That is a beautiful shade. I feel like it may have some red undertones to it, but it has pigment to it. It's not as patchy as the other colors have been. I'm liking that one. The next shade is a dark gold. It is called Zenith. Now this is a shimmer shade. That shade has a lot of pigment to it. I don't feel like it's patchy at all, but again, that's pretty consistent with the shimmers that we've had so far. The next shade is a coral color, and it's called Hot AF. It is also a matte shade. This is what it looks like on the finger. Oh, you guys, that shade is pigmented. That one almost looks like it could stain. The next shade is a very deep red berry shade, and it is called Bite. The next shade is a purple shade. It too is a shimmer. It is called Groove. What it looks like on the finger. Oh yeah. That one felt a little chalkier than the other shimmer shades, but once you blend it out, it is so beautiful, you guys. The next shade on this row is called Wavy. It is a bright blue shade. Looks like it is a matte color. Even though it's matte, it is very pigmented. The final shade on this row kind of looks like it might have some dark green undertones to it. I'm not sure the exact shade that it is, but it is called Legendary. This is what it looks like on the finger. Oh, you guys. That swatched so smoothly, and it's so pretty. I swear to God, I said that about all of the shimmer shades so far, but they're so pretty. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a picture of these as well. I'll pop the names on them, and somewhere on the screen the picture will be as well. The last row once again starts off with a brown shade. It is a very dark brown. It is a matte shade as well, and it is called Champ. This is what it looks like on the finger. I feel like that one I have to go back and forth a couple of times to really get a color payoff for it, but once you do, it has some pigment to it. The next shade is an orange shade. It is called Fortune. It is a matte shade as well. This is what it looks like. Kind of reminds me of a jack-o'-lantern. The next shade, it looks kind of like a deeper shade of burnt orange as well. And this shade is called Crochet. This is a matte shade as well. Not really liking these three shades, but maybe it's just me. I feel like they're more patchy than the last few were, but that's okay, it happens. The next shade is another berry shade. It is a matte color and it is called Totally. This is what it looks like on the finger. Now this matte shade feels a little different than the other ones have so far. It felt kind of grainy, which is weird for an eyeshadow, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. It is very pigmented, however it is a bit patchy as well, so I feel like this color is going to use a lot of blending if we use it for a look. The next shade is called Backlash. It is a shimmer shade, and I feel like this is like a shade of brown. It kind of looks like a golden brown. This is what it looks like on the finger. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay. Our next shade is a deep blue. It is a shimmer color as well. It is called Rockin'. This is what this shade looks like on the finger. It actually kind of looks purple in certain lighting. And finally, our last color is a black shade. It has a bit of a shimmer to it, and it is called Onyx. So Onyx is kind of like that peachy matte shade before, where it has a bit of a shimmer to it, but it still has the matte consistency. I really like it, but that might just be because the little emo in my soul likes matte shades that are black. Can't help it. Alright, you guys, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and wash off the eye makeup I currently have on, and when I come back, we're going to test out this palette on the eyes and see a look that we can create just on a whim. I'll be back in just a second. Okay, you guys, so I have taken off my previous eye look and I've re-primed my eyes. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fluffy brush and I'm going to set that primer, and I'm going to use the first shade in the palette, this matte nude color here. This is the shade Winnie. I'm noticing when I'm doing this is that there is just a little bit of kickback so far on this matte shade. Let's go ahead and move on with this look and see if there's any other issues that we have going forward. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with the orange color, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the yellow and I'm going to put it just above my crease, and then I'm going to blend it into the oranges, and we're going to try and see what we can come up with these mattes and shimmers of those two shades. So the first shade I'm going to take on my blending brush is the shade right here called Sunnies. I'm going to go ahead and tap off the excess, and that took off a lot of the color from this brush. So we're going to see what we can do with what's left. that did nothing. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and pick up some more of this shade. I'm not going to tap off the excess this time. I don't wanna lose the color. That gave us better results because we didn't lose the pigment when we tapped off any excess. So now we know better. Okay, you guys, I'm not gonna lie. Even though we had a little bit of trouble with this color when I first tapped off the excess, I'm actually really loving it. I think it's very vibrant. It's really pigmented when you use the full amount that you have on your brush. So let's go ahead and move on to the coral shade and see if maybe we can use that to kind of transition up to that yellow and use it on our crease. I'm going to take my fluffy brush from RK by Kiss, and I'm going to go ahead and use that coral shade. Again, that shade is called Hot AF. Ooh, this is very pigmented. I'm going to apply less pressure than what I started with because that was more pigmented than I thought it was going to be after that swatch. I thought I was really gonna have to work it to get it. Now that I have the coral color applied, I'm gonna take that first blending brush with the yellow and I'm gonna try and blend the two shades together. Next, I'm going to take that burnt orange color called Beat. It's the lighter one, not the dark one. And we're gonna just put this in our inner corners and see what happens, or our outer corners and see what happens. So I feel like that just ended up being the same shade as the coral after I blended it with the yellow. So I am gonna go into that darker burnt orange just to deepen it up a bit. Okay. So, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is a lot of fallout right here. I'm gonna leave it alone for now, and I think I'm gonna try and blend it towards the end to see if maybe I can use that fallout on the lower lash line. So I'm just gonna take my concealer brush and I'm gonna go in with that primer that I used. Now that we've cut our creases, I'm gonna go in with the shade Strobe Lights. This is gonna be the first shimmer shade that we use for this look. Now, what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna lightly pack that in. Noticing that this shimmer shade does have some fallout as well, and I do have to kind of pack my brush just to get the shade to pop, but I think that's just because it's such a light shade. And because I only did a half cut crease, I am going to go back in with that orange color and I'm going to blend the two together. I'm going to do is I'm going to take this more precise brush and I'm going to go in with that dark orange and I'm going to go onto my bottom lash line and I'm going to go ahead and start blending that out. I'm only going to take this color on the outer thirds because I actually want to move back into that coral color for the inner third. 2/3, I guess. And just kind of go from the dark to the lighter color. And since this is supposed to be a festival palette, I think what I'm going to end up doing is just taking the colors out a little further and trying to be a little bit dramatic with this look. just to be completely random, I'm gonna take that shimmery light purple shade. It's called Fanny Pack, and I'm gonna use that on my inner corners. Wing, I'm going to go ahead and use my eyeliner pen called Fierce Flicks, and we're going to get fierce with it. And for my lower lash line, I'm going to go in with my sample of Sex Kitten by Tarte. For my lashes, I'm going to go ahead and use a mascara. It is a sample from Benefit called They're Real. Alright you guys, this is my completed look using the Profusion Festival palette. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Was this a good buy? Was it a bad buy? What do you guys think about this palette? Have you tried it yet? Have you had any looks? If so, tag me on Instagram at PandaDolls. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to put out new content every Monday. Hit the notification bell down below so you're notified every single time that I post, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!